Okay, so next up we have align content, which we use to control or distribute space along the cross axis, but only when we have multiple rows or columns, depending on if we're in a row or column based layout. Basically, if we are in columns like we have here, align content controls the space between those columns. If we're in rows, the main axis is left to right, right to left. The cross axis is vertical. We're controlling space between the rows. So here's an example. We can use space between, space around, flex start, flex end, the different properties we've seen before, or the different values rather. So here's space between. Here's flex start. We still have our rows, 1 row, 2 row, 3 rows. They are moved to the left in this case, the beginning of the cross axis. Or we have flex end. They move to the right hand side. We've got center. So let me show you how this would work. I've got this layout right now. So we have a column layout, justify content center, align items flex end, okay? And then we've got flex wrap set to wrap. Now, if I want them to meet in the middle here, I could do align content center. Align content center. I'm controlling the space between the columns. There we go. Now, if we only have one column or one row, we don't have flex wrap turned on, align content does nothing for us at all. It just doesn't mean anything. It's only when we have wrap or wrap reverse for flex wrap. So if I want to move them to the left, I could do flex start. And if I wanted to spread them out and distribute the space between, I have space between, I have space around, but I'm just going to do space between. And there you go. Now let's switch this entirely to a row-based layout. So flex direction row. I have justify content center, and my items actually aren't big enough to go into multiple rows, so let's make them wider. Let's do 400 pixels. Nope, still need wider. Okay, how about 600 pixels? There we go. Now we have 2 rows. So align content will distribute the space between those rows. Let's do space between. There we go. Let's do center. And those rows will be now centered vertically on that cross axis. So that's align content, space between rows or space between columns, depending on the orientation of the cross axis. It does nothing if you don't have flex wrap, you don't have content wrapping. And then the next property I'll show you while we're here is align self. Align self is very similar to align items, except it's actually a property we add to a single element, or it doesn't have to be one, but to individual items in the Flex container. So it's the first property we've seen that we don't actually apply to the Flex container itself, but to individual elements. And we can change the alignment along the cross axis for a single element using it. So here's our row. I did align items flex start, so everything is aligned to the top. But I did align self flex end on this one item. So let's undo some of what we've just done. Let's go back to 200 pixels. Okay, and I'm going to do align items to the start, so flex start, just like that. And then I'm going to pick one of these. I'll just use nth of type probably. So div nth of type. How about the third one? And then align self center. And there we go. It's aligned to the center of the cross axis. Or I could do flex end. So this is how you can position one thing at a time within this Flex container. So I could do, just one more example. Let's duplicate this. Let's do nth of type 2. Let's do center. So let's see what that looks like. There we go. And that's kind of all that there is to it. Of course, if we're in a row layout, rather a column layout, this does work differently. But it's the same idea. Yikes, it's a bit of a nightmare to look at. Let's undo these changes for a moment. So here's the original layout where our elements are in a row or in a column, multiple columns, they wrap. And then I can align items, which I have already done, align items flex start. Let's do flex end. Okay, so they move over there. And now I can align one of these within this space. Let's do this one, this purple one, which is the 5th one, I believe. So let's do div nth of type 5, and then align self flex start, which should be to the left. And there we go. Okay, so that is align content and align self. They both have to do with the cross axis, as does align items. They just all have a slightly different role. Next up, we're going to learn more about making our elements flexible, making them grow, shrink, depending on the amount of available space.